Hello family and friends. Today we're going to be doing some maintenance on this full sun bed and tucking in a few plants. Even though the ones we have in now will be getting bigger, we're going to put in some more flowers so that it's nice and full. We have some really nice dianthus here. But before I do anything, I'm going to be getting rid of these weeds because I like to start off on a clean slate. You know, even though it's already pretty and we have a lot of flowers here. We have some dahlias, sun patience, even some mums. And the thing about these weeds, some of these weeds will make you think your plants are blooming. Look at that. See these little blooms here, these little yellow blooms? Actually, that's a clover. See? That's a clover right there. And we'll be pulling those out along with these spreading weeds along the bottom. Some people call these Bermuda weeds. And look here, on this red dianthus here, we have some clovers coming up. I pulled some of them already, but some of these were already as tall as the blooms, and they were coming out with the blooms, and it looked like they were part of the bloom itself, the part of the flower itself. We have dianthus in here, mums, some sweet potato vines, and a mandeville here. One of the blooms here is already spent. I'll be plucking that off. Pluck that on out. And we have some coleus back here. Coleus in a it's a plastic pot with the terracotta color to it. And before I install anything, I'll be getting rid of the weeds. See, we have grass growing in here, clovers, Bermuda weed, and what some of my friends call a mile a minute. It's just this bed's a mess, so we're gonna get it looking good because it's right here at the back door, and it's a nice bed to look at when you come out and start your day with something nice. So we're gonna get it cleaned up, and then I'll be ready to install some plants, tuck them in the empty spaces. I'm gonna be using this claw, and it's been around for a while. I like using it. It's very effective. But most of the time I'll be using this side of it because that has a lot of surface area, and it really cuts up under the weeds and pulls them on out. That tool really gets under the weeds and pulls them up by the roots. Like on this edge here, where a lot of the grass was just growing into the bed, we were able to use that tool and dig things up. There's a few clovers still left, and that's all a part of maintenance. Some will slip past you, but we will get it now that I spotted it. And look, here's an example right here of how we have the clover growing up into the plant and the bloom coming up with the other blooms. And a lot of people don't see those weeds because some weeds have blooms too. So in this area here, we just have some grass growing up in between the flowers. We're gonna be pulling all of this before we install anything. You see the different colors we have out here. We have a salmon type sun patient. We have a creamy white sun patient. A pink. dahlias here. And there's going to be some maintenance on these as well. Going to be deadheading these and cutting off the spent blooms. Along with pulling out these wiry weeds that spread all through the beds, we're going to be doing some deadheading too on the dahlias. Now this one here obviously is a spent bloom, and this one here is a spent bloom, and I'm going to show you what to do with that. You want to take the stem of that bloom all the way back from where it sprouted from the stem and clip it. A lot of times we clip them off right under the head, but you want to take as much as this back to the growth separation point to encourage growth on the plant in other areas. It makes the plant leaves greener and glossier and encourages more blooms, because all that nutrients is going toward making blooms instead of in areas that it's not needed. Now this one here, as I clip it off, you can see there's other blooms here that are about to open up. And as I clip off these spent blooms, the other buds open. So what I do is I take them as far back as I can take them without cutting off anything else. This one here, take it back. See, now this looks really messy. So what we'll do is pull off the petals, because that stresses out the other parts of the plant. Take it back and clip it. See how this here is stressed? But now that that's been clipped off, this will be able to bloom and be as pretty as this one. Now that the stressed out petals and leaves and spent blooms are gone, this looks like a lot cleaner plant. As you can see here, this is another bloom about to open up. But don't confuse these with a stressed bloom. About to open up and look pretty like the rest of them. On this tall red dianthus, let me show you something here. Look, we have a weed growing right next to it. See that? I mean, you can't see it right now, but watch this. Okay? It's right here. This is not a dianthus. It's a clover. And these will grow up right next to your plants. And then they bloom. And you don't realize that it's there until it's big. Okay, now this is how the bed looks now. And there's a few spots here and there that could stand some color. So I'm going to tuck in a few plants. In this pot, we have a lot of blooms on this Mandeville that are about to open up, and we have a lot of other flowers that are already blowing. So I'm going to tuck in a few flowers, you know, to make it full, because this is a nice bed that's outside the back door. And I see that when we go into the backyard, this bed is here and it's very enjoyable to look at. This bed is loaded with color, but we're going to tuck in a few more plants and make it full. Put in some pink and white to fill in the bare spots. And we have Vincas and sun patience. Both of those are full sun plants and they can tolerate the heat. Next to the pot, we put two together at the beginning of this drift to even out the transition of size. Because these two together are bigger than the rest of the plants, but it adds a medium as far as the size transition from going from big to small. And on this one, we have a leaf at the bottom that's stretched out. We'll just pinch that off, because when the leaves are touching the soil, that invites pest and it stresses out the leaves. Also, these plants are they like drainable soil, and if the soil is kept wet for too long, it will encourage root rot and pest. I dug all the holes and set the pots in to make sure they were the proper depth. If they're too deep, it welcomes water in onto the stem and creates root rot. If they're too high, the roots will be exposed to hot air and dry out. So what I'm going to do is go along and put in some shaker seed in each one of the holes.